Pheromones. I just wanted to talk about pheromones today because I think it's really underestimated how powerful these smell hormones, that's essentially what pheromones are on the lives of human beings as well as on mammals, of course. And the reason I bring this up is because when I was speaking to my dear friend about her recent free birth experience, she mentioned to me that her husband said to her, "I think you're very close now," not because of the noises she was making or the positions that she was getting in, but because of the smell that he could smell. And I'm not saying that, she'd pooed herself or anything like that either. It was a very distinctive smell that he had completely forgotten about, but remembered when he had re-smelt it because he recognized it from previous birth that she'd had. And as my friend was telling me the story, I was reminded of how my husband said exactly the same thing. After I had given birth to our most recent baby, Chrissi, my husband said to me, "I knew you were close because you started to smell a certain way. There was a certain raw, animalistic, mammalian smell about you." And I obviously hadn't smelt it because I guess I was in the throes of it. But I just think it's really interesting that our husbands did notice it. So obviously it is there. And it may also be the pheromones that are excreted rather than just the smell. It could be the combination of the two. And that then led me to just look a little bit into my books and in my research into what role pheromones really play. Because I really don't think we give it enough justice, really, how powerful they are. But of course, the whole perfume industry is based upon this. So what I mean by that is perfumes are essentially a way of manipulating your true pheromones and masking your true smell. So you may attract mates through the perfume or cologne that you're using that you normally would never have attracted if it had just been your own normal body odor and your own pheromones. So, these perfume companies obviously know all about smells and all about pheromones, and they've made it their business to know the ins and outs of it. But I think we innocently just use our perfumes without really giving it much thought. Because of my naturopathy course, I learned a little bit about the power of smell, and we were told when we had newborn babies to maybe be a little bit sensitive with regards to using perfumes and even essential oils, to just not use them at all, because it just meant that the baby would bond much more with us. And that's because even when the babe is in the womb, it is getting used to our pheromones. It can detect our pheromones from the amniotic sac, from the fluid in there. And then once the baby is born, it obviously can't see that well or hear that well yet, but it identifies us through smell. And we also, in a reciprocal relationship, identify our babies through smell because we recognize our own amniotic fluid on their bodies. So this is why you'll see other mammals smelling their young, licking their young, and all that kind of thing. They can actually, let's take a litter of rats, for example. A mother rat will be able to distinguish who her litter is if they mix up all the baby rats just through smelling them. And the same goes for dogs, cats, all mammals. Baby deers, or fawns I think they're called, when they're in a herd of other deers, they smell the back of the mother's knees, I believe. And that way they identify who their mother is, because obviously they can't see up and recognize her face or anything, but it's all through sense of smell. So I just thought that was fascinating, because everybody loves the smell of a newborn baby. Everybody loves that sweet smell and nuzzles into it. And it's all to encourage bonding, and it's all to encourage more oxytocin to be produced, which is obviously how our milk production comes in, which then nurtures the baby. So it's so cleverly interlinked and orchestrated, these cocktail of pheromones that we all give off. And yeah, I just wanted to leave with one more thought on pheromones, which is they also did a study on rats again, where they washed the nipples of the mummy rats with soap, and the baby rats could not find their way to nipples and they perished. So it's only when the mummy rat was able to lick her own nipples and give off her own pheromones that the baby rats could thrive. So I just think that was fascinating. I hope you did too. Please leave your comments, subscribe to the button below, and yeah, I look forward to giving you more interesting content like this when you're in the mood for it. Thanks so much. Lots of love. Just as a little add-on to my pheromone video, my pheromone thoughts, I wanted to add that my 10-year-old son, Luca, after the birth of Chrissi, really had this like overwhelming urge to lick her. And, you know, I was kind of watching him because he was holding her, and all the little longlets, you know, were enamored with her. I've got 4 others. So they were all taking turns cuddling her, and I was watching him sort of nuzzle into her head and everything, and then kind of sticking his tongue out and licking her a little bit. And I said, Luca, what are you doing? And he just said, well, she just smells so good, and I just want to taste her, and I just want to lick her all over. And you know, not many minutes later, when I was holding her again, I knew what he meant. You know, I had this overwhelming urge as well to lick her, and I just thought, oh my God, have we gone mad? But that's because we're mammals, and you know, tell me a mammal who doesn't do that to their baby until they're young. So I just thought that was really interesting. And don't feel weird if you feel the need to do that. I'm not saying act on it, but if you have to, then I don't see that there's anything that terribly wrong with it. That's probably why we smother them in kisses, right? Anyway, and probably cover them in saliva when we do that. And the other thing I wanted to mention about the pheromone video that I sort of omitted the last time to mention, because I have a memory like a sieve, was that this rush that often midwives or the medical community in hospitals have to ensure that we wash our babies and get the blood and the vernix off them, vernix being that white, sticky, like fatty substance, creamy substance they have on their skin. Some have it, some don't. Mine are covered in it usually. And it's there for reasons, you know, to basically keep them warm when they're in the womb if they don't have enough fat yet and not enough body hair, which most of them don't when they're in the womb. And it's also there because it's a great antibacterial and antiviral shield from the skin. So you're supposed to rub the vernix in rather than wash it off or take it off with towels, which I did the first few times with my first few babies, stupidly, because I didn't know. But anyway, we're encouraged to just have them neat and tidy, looking nice, right? And so get the blood off them, get the gunge of them, get the vernix off them, and have them beautifully polished so that, you know, when visitors come, that they look lovely. Well, I tell you what, don't, you know, there's loads of pheromones on your baby that not only increase the bond between you and the baby, but also keep the baby healthy. Because like I said, the vernix is an antibacterial and antiviral, and they need all that. They're born sterile. So anything that they can get to be a protective shield is fantastic. So I now, with my last 3 babies, have not washed them at all. I mean, yes, if there's blood somewhere, but there rarely is because mine were born in water. But if there's a bit of blood or something, we'll take, you know, a cotton wool bed and just use some water with no soaps in it and nothing like that, and remove it and clean them up a little bit. And then we massage the vernix in and we leave them. And we leave them not just for a day or two, we leave them for about 2 weeks, which I know some of you will probably be grimacing, especially if you haven't had a baby. You might be thinking, oh, that's gross and what's wrong with her and blah, blah, blah. But honestly, their immune systems are fantastic. I've had 5 of them now. They've always thrived as newborns. I've never had to worry about them. And I think that's part of it. I really do. I think their skin being covered in this good bacteria has been a real plus, rather than taking it all off with soap, every day. No, it's a nonsense. And normally when you do wash them, it's more to get your own smells off them, like your underarm, armpit hair and stuff like that, because they nuzzle in your breast and there. So, you know, there's no harm in cleaning their head with some water if you do find that you've kind of made them a bit smelly. But really, newborn babies, they don't sweat, you know, unless they're in really hot tropical countries. They don't smell. They don't, have that. Obviously, you need to wash them where they've pooed as well. That goes without saying. That's common sense. But they don't need full-on baths or showers with soap, is what I'm trying to say. And it could actually be detrimental to them if you do that. And yeah, like I said, our newborns, we wash them maybe every 2 weeks. And only when they started like eating food or crawling around or walking do they get very regular showers and baths. And you need to, because they're filthy then. Like our 16-month-old now, she probably has about 5-6 showers a day, because she's always in the dirt or eating and getting it all over herself, and that's different. But as for newborns, they really don't need to be cleaned and sanitized that often. Anyway, that's it for now. Lots of love.